Nigerian Air Force wings new pilots. Kaduna government introduces house-to-house search to combat infectious diseases. Obiano inaugurates Youth Empowerment Creative Economy Council. Pandemonium as police disperse protesters in Abuja. Welcome to the news on the hour on television Nigerian. I am Cynthia Agbo. The Nigerian Air Force, along with their counterparts from the Liberian Armed Forces, has winged 12 new Nigerians and 2 Liberian pilots in Abuja. The winging ceremony, which took place at the Nigerian Air Force headquarters in Abuja, had in attendance the Ambassador of Liberia to Nigeria, the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Defense, and the Chief of Army Staff, among other key personalities. TVN correspondent Austin Peacemaker Inaide has more on the report.
The Nigerian Air Force, in projection of its air power against insecurities such as terrorism and militancy within and outside Nigeria, has continued to embark on human capital development to reposition the Nigerian Air Force to adequately deal with these challenges. Against this backdrop, 12 new Nigerian and 2 Liberian pilots have been winged in Abuja. The Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, while making his opening remark, stated that the accomplishment of the Nigerian Air Force pilot and other personnel who are undertaking daring missions in the face of real danger are testimonies to the quality of training they have received. The representative of the Minister of Defense, Mrs. Nuriatu Batagarawa, Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Defense, applauded the Nigerian government for its continuous contribution to the Nigerian defense sector.
I will not fail to express our profound gratitude to Mr. President, who has continued to repose confidence in the nation's defense sector, and in spite of the country's lean resources, has continued to support and give special attention to the operational requirements of our armed forces. I wish to assure Mr. President of our unalloyed loyalty and total commitment to his aspiration for a peaceful and prosperous Nigeria.
Also applauding the Nigerian government through the Nigerian Air Force, the Minister of National Defense, Liberia, expressed his delight for the 2 Liberian pilots.
There has been a long-standing relationship between Liberia and Nigeria, and I am a living witness to that. During the height of our Civil War from the 1990s, and this is why most of the graduates who came here when they were reading their profile and they said they were born in the 90s, it just gave me a high memories of the 90s. When all hell broke loose in Liberia, we had no one but we had Nigerians that were the first to put their boots on the ground.
As stated by the Chief of Training and Operations during the winging ceremony, there are still 4 Nigerian Air Force student pilots undergoing training with the United States Air Force, and one of them is the first female potential fighter pilot in the Nigerian Air Force. It is hoped this continuous capacity building for Air Force personnel will continue to yield positive results in projecting air power against terrorism and other criminal activities in the country. Austin Peacemaker Inaide, TVN News.
In a bid to curb the spread of diseases across and beyond the state, the Kaduna state government has introduced a house-to-house search mechanism to prevent and protect residents against outbreak of infectious diseases. In a recent statement, the State Commissioner for Health, Dr. Paul Dogo, said the state has not recorded any single case in the 23 local government areas and assured that no chance will be taken to contain any disease outbreak. The commissioner said the state has a robust supply chain management system with medicines that can easily be pre-positioned in hospitals to manage isolated cases. further revealing that the state has maintained polio-free status since November 2012 and is working hard to build sufficient herd immunity through strengthened routine immunization program. Meanwhile, Governor Willie Obiano of Anambra State has inaugurated the State Youth Empowerment and Creative Economy Community in Awka, the state capital. The 13-member committee, which is to be chaired by Dr. Nick Okoye, has among its terms of reference a mandate to create a reliable database that the state government will find resourceful for its youth development initiatives, as well as to develop a result-oriented framework using the creative economy to engage and empower youths, and also advise government on other youth-related issues. Governor Obiano, while inaugurating the committee, said his government relies on their wealth of experience at this time to make a difference in its effort at drastically reducing unemployment among youths in the state. He urged them to look beyond their stipulated terms of reference to develop initiatives that government and the private sector alike can fund to make life more meaningful for the youths, assuring them of the full support of his administration. After the break, pandemonium as police dispersed protesters in Abuja, while in sports, federal government 2.5 billion naira World Cup funds for Super Eagles stalled. Stay tuned.
For almost a decade, the Nigerian army have given their all to ensure that our dear country is not overrun by Boko Haram insurgents. Some have in the process paid the ultimate price, while many will forever live with indelible scars occasioned by their determination to protect the country, no matter the hurdle. Despite these, they have remained resolute and undaunted, and today, all territories the insurgents once took control of have been recaptured and normalcy restored. And now, for the first time in a long time, the end of Boko Haram is foreseeable. Therefore, the wisest thing for the remaining insurgents to do is to surrender today or face total destruction from the army. Remember, the Nigerian army will stop at nothing to ensure that total peace is restored in all parts of the country. So, be wise and embrace peace today or get ready to be ruthlessly dealt with. This message is brought to you by the Coalition on Conflict Resolution and Human Rights in Nigeria.
Thanks for staying tuned. There was a pandemonium in the city center area of Abuja on Monday as police forcefully dispersed protesters believed to be Shiite Muslims who gathered at the Unity Fountain near the Transcorp Hilton in Abuja. People were seen running for cover as the police fired tear gas to disperse the protesters who were demanding the release of their leader, Ibrahim El-Zakzaky, who has been detained without trial for over 2 years. The development paralyzed traffic and commercial activities around the area as everyone avoided the area to avoid getting caught up in the fracas. The action on Monday comes a few days after the police banned all forms of protest or rallies at the Unity Fountain, a venue which in recent times have been a rallying point for activists and civil society groups, most notable the Bring Back Our Girls group and a host of others. Moving on to the foreign scene, Iran's Ministry of Education on Sunday banned the use of foreign social media network in schools amid a push by Tehran to limit the influence of outside online platforms. Going by the recent guidelines, schools must only use domestic social network for their communication, such as Telegrams, which is the most popular social network in Iran, and recently claimed it had 40 million monthly users in the Islamic Republic. Instagram is also very popular, and companies in Iran often use both platforms to communicate directly with customers. Less used Facebook and Twitter are blocked in Iran but can be accessed using a virtual private network. Iranian authorities have sought to develop homegrown social media network and limit the reliance on foreign-based platforms, which Tehran accuses of hosting sites deemed hostile to the Islamic Republic. The body of a prominent gay rights lawyer and environmental activist has been found after he burned himself to death in protest against climate change. Members of the public discovered the remains of David Buckle in a New York park, with a 60-year-old reportedly leaving a suicide note in a nearby shopping trolley. According to sources, the note said he hoped his death was honorable and might serve others. The lawyer had risen to prominence as the lead attorney in a lawsuit involving a transgender man, Brandon Tina, who was murdered in 1993 and whose story was made into the 1999 film Boys Don't Cry, starring Hilary Swank.
Nigerians have tested political parties, religion and age. It is time to get a bridge builder to heal the wounds. Hassan Dan Kwambo. Under your watch as Executive Governor of Gombe State, you have been able to manage the state's resources in view of the numerous projects so far completed and the low statutory federal allocations accruable to the state. With your landmark achievements in healthcare, youth employment, women empowerment, road infrastructure, pipe-borne water, security, education and agricultural development, we are sure of a better Nigeria. 2019 is not about power or change, but rather it is about Dan Kwambo to replicate his humility and servant leadership. Dan Kwambo, Nigeria. Nigeria, Dan Kwambo.
And in sports, barely 61 days to the FIFA 2018 World Cup in Russia, which kicks off in June 14, the approved 2.5 billion naira promised the Super Eagles players and coaches by the federal government has not been released yet. This is despite the sports minister Solomon Dalung earlier's promise that come March 2018, all funds required by the Super Eagles would be released by the sport ministry. Dalong, however, said NFF must show him their commitment by generating some funds for the Mundial before he disburses any fund to them. Investigations confirm NFF last got subvention from the federal government in July 2007, totaling 72 million naira. To end the news bulletin, a recap of the major stories. Nigerian Air Force wings new pilots. Kaduna government introduces house-to-house search to combat infectious diseases. Obiano inaugurates Youth Empowerment Creative Economy Council. Pandemonium as police disperse protesters in Abuja. That's the news on the hour. Do remember, leaders inspire accountability through their ability to accept responsibility before they place blame. Thanks for staying tuned. I am Cynthia Agua. Do have yourself a wonderful evening.